So, dear partners and participants, it's my pleasure to welcome you in the name of Terra Technopolis as the host of this kickoff event in the project Digital Food Quality and Traceability using blockchain. Project is financed by the program Smart Agri-Hubs and also through the Horizon 2020. I would like to welcome also our partners, Green Dig from Romania, the coordinator of this project, also Hadassah from Israel, Smart Village from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also Croatian Competence Center for Research and Development from Vinkovci, and also our Croatia IT company, Uspis from Zagreb. We are running this project intended to support digital innovations in the food sector, and during this meeting, we will present activities in the project and advantages of a blockchain in agriculture. I wish our guests a pleasant stay in the city of Osijek, and also all the participants that have a nice and interesting meeting. So I would like to invite our first speakers, Mr. Julian and Mr. Winkov, to take the floor and say more words about the project.
Hello everyone, my name is Julian Stoleriu and I'm representative of Green Digital Innovation Hub, who we are the leading partners in this project. Together with our partners, as our colleagues say, we are 6 partners in this consortium, and with Vinko we will start to present our project. Farm-to-Fork strategy. Farm-to-Fork strategy is the heart of the European Green Deal, which aims to make food system fairs healthy and environmentally friendly. The Farm-to-Fork strategy aims to accelerate our transition to a sustainable food system that should have a natural or positive impact on the environment, contribute to the climate change, protect biodiversity, ensure food security, nutrition, and public health.
And I will take over from Julian. So I'm partner in this project. We are from Caspis. And basically the Farm-to-Fork strategy is the strategy that came out in 2018 and wants to implement changes in the agriculture sector. What we are talking today, about the digital part, and this is parts of the strategy that are talking about digital. So from investments to mandatory use of the fish certificates, to changes in the production. One of the goals of the Farm-to-Fork strategy is to move into the digitalization and digital transformation. And now let's talk a little bit about Smart Agri-Hubs project. That's the project that we applied open call to. So the Smart Agri-Hubs project is Horizon project. Horizon is, in other words, Mercedes among the EU-funded projects. And the Smart Agri-Hub won one of the calls from the Horizon. And inside their project, they had open calls for different parts. One of the things about Smart Agri-Hub project, they have 164 partners in consortium. So when they were applying, they had 164 partners. Can you imagine coordination in preparing the bid with the 164 partners? Our biggest one was 22 partners, and it was a nightmare. I cannot imagine how they did it. They have digital innovation hubs, and our colleague Julian will talk about digital innovation hub later on. Digital innovation hubs are parts that are supported by this project. And our open call that we won is to support 4 digs in the region and Israel, and to give them new services. And the scope of this, we will talk later more into the depth, is to support them in digital transition using blockchain. And now when we are talking about open calls, just to get an idea. So as I said, Horizon is Mercedes among the EU projects, and we applied for the open call. So we were competing with everyone in all countries, EU and non-EU countries, that are eligible for applying. There were 21 proposals that were selected. So we don't know how many applied, but we are, and this project is one of 21 proposals that were selected. So that says something about this idea, because there was no topic in saying, you know, we want one blockchain project. The topic was digital transition, and the open call was focused on digital transition. We applied with the blockchain project and we won. So this says something about the importance of this, and that this is the topic that is interested now throughout EU and even outside EU. So what we are talking about here is that we have one of 21 proposals selected, 39 innovation activities in those 21 proposals, and 63 organizations. So we have 5 organizations on our proposals, and the idea is to give new service to to digital innovation hubs. And this is food traceability through blockchain. And this is what we are going to do. We are talking about, in this part, generally about the project, what is the scope of the project. And later on, we will talk more about technology, more about how we think to do it, and how to enable digital innovation hubs to go and offer new services, raise awareness among the producers to adopt new technologies. And project description.
The project description is supporting the agri-food communities and the actors in the Southeast European through developing services on food, on digital food quality and traceability using blockchain. Our project, as I say, is composed from entities from 4 countries. We are 4 digital innovation hubs, 1 competency center, and of course, Cuspis, who is the technology provider for us. Here you can see our partners.
And I will go to the objectives. So as we said, what we did first when we were applying for this project, and this is something that I would highly recommend to everyone, we did our own analysis of the market. It took a while. It's not something that you can do in 1 hour, 2 hours. We have one of those that were doing analysis, Sonia is here, and she was dying day and night to do whatever she could collect. So the idea is to see, you have an idea. Okay, I want to do some traceability on the blockchain. I think it's a great idea. But you have to see, is it feasible? Are there any interest in that? Who is going to use it? And do we have any chance when we are applying for that? And the most important part is to find the right partners. So when we were starting and everybody was thinking in this consortium alone, and then we somehow connected. How we connected? We were researching internet, talking to different actors. Those that are in this project are not the only one that every one of us talked. But what we found strong partners in each of the countries. So we are talking about Croatia, where we are now. We are talking about Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is neighboring. Then we're talking about Romania, and then we are talking about Israel. We wanted to attract more in Southeast region, more countries, so like Bulgaria and Greece and so on. But due to the lack of the time, we couldn't manage to make a wider proposal, although that was our intention. And the intention of those DICs that are participating in this project is to give the services to all interested parties in their project. So one thing is that we did first analysis, and then we applied based on data that we got on that analysis. So we talked to the market, we talked to each of the DICs and competence center were talking to their own ecosystem, and we wanted to get feedback. And one of the things that changed in our proposal during this time was when we get some feedbacks, we did adjust the proposal. And that's true. You have to listen to the end users, because if you're offering something that is not interesting to them, who is going to use it? No one. So this was the first part. The second part that we are going to do, this is kickoff event. What we are going to do, we are going to do a roadmap. So roadmap is the, let's say, document with the steps, how you can implement this new technology. First step, second step, and we will talk later on more in the details. Third step, and so on and so on and so on. Then, when we have a roadmap, we will teach, we as a technology company, all the DICs and competence center, how to use this technology. So they get the knowledge. So this opening event is one of the first events. We will have lots of internal events where we will talk about blockchain, what it is, why we want to use it. Is there any pro and cons for that? And then once we enable this to offer services, we will give them also lab facilities. So when they're offering services and doing their own educations of their own ecosystem, what they're going to do, they will talk and have a PowerPoint presentation, but you know how it goes with the PowerPoint presentation. Everything is beautiful, everything is shining, and everything is going up and up and up. But with the PowerPoint presentation, what they're going to have, they're going to have lab. They will have actual application they can use and play with the data. And they will be able, when they have a presentation like this, or when they go to on-site to producers, they will be able to show them, to log in, and to show them how it works and what benefits it will bring. So we will have a, let's say, live lab where you can play it at no cost, and everyone will be able to log in, use it, even if you're a student, even if you're not producer, to understand what is it offering. And the last thing here, of course, any project has to have it, because we can work hard day and night and try to do our best. But if you don't have a promotion and dissemination, so what it does mean, we have to talk about what we did, you don't have results. So the last part of the project is promotion and dissemination. And what we want to do, I already talked about what we want as results. So basically, we already did analysis, and this will be part of the report. It's very interesting stuff to read. Technology roadmap, so one white paper with the steps, what you need, how to do it, and what are the best steps. There will be a proof of concept. This is what we are talking about, the application that will be up and running in the testing environment. So we are talking about test nodes that will be up and running, and everybody will be able to play. DICS, Digital Innovation Hub and Competence Center, will be doing their workshops and raising awareness, showing the potential of technology, and basically what everybody's saying that the next decade is going to be agri-food decade. So basically, we are entering into the next decade with the blockchain. And of course, they will make the services will stay. So, lots of projects end, and this project will end, of course, but these services with the DICS will stay. And that's the point. So after the end of the project, they will still have access. They will be able to go and to learn and to teach and do showcases to the producers. Okay, so we are slowly coming to the point. What we are talking about quality and traceability. And there is one more point where you will immediately ask for why we need that. We already have, HACCP, ISO standards, and so on and so on. So to just make this distinction at the beginning, all the standards, HACCP, GMO-free, originally creation, and so on, or whatever other standards we are talking, they are standards. And what they are saying, I'm complying with the standards and I'm doing the same process, the same way each time. So this is called quality assurance. What it doesn't say a lot about quality. So you could have a quality assurance doing process each time the same way, but you can end up with different version of qualities of your product. So your product could be high quality, could be medium quality, could be some level of the quality. It will be the similar quality. But quality assurance standards are not saying a lot. They're saying something, and I'm not talking that they're not useful. They're useful because they give you processes that you have to adhere to. But what they are not saying, actual quality. And here we are talking about actual quality of the product and actual traceability, part of the traceability system. So we will go a little bit deeper in that later on. But the point is, today, when you look at the producers are the first step. If you don't have a producers on your side, you won't have product. So producers are already having data, because if they're raising, for example, yesterday we were on the egg farm, and they have to follow some procedures. They have to check the oxygen, they have to check water supply each and every time, and temperature. So this is, for example, for the egg production, three biggest indicators that they are following, and they are already following it. The thing that we are proposing for this project is those parameters that they are following to get to the customer. Why? When I come to the shop, so we are now in Croatia, so let's talk about Croatian situation. You go to the shop and you want to buy eggs. We were yesterday there, so I'm talking about eggs. You have 3 different packages. What is different between those packages? The only difference that you know the type of the how the chickens were raised. And this is only difference. You don't have any other differentiation between the products. So imagine if you could scan the product and say, okay, this is the product that was in optimal temperature, for example, all the time of their production, supply chain, and in the store. Would you rather buy that product or the product that you don't know anything about? And this is what we want to raise through this project, is to get information about the quality through the channel. And this is not only about consumers, because although the consumers are the ones that we target because they don't have any information now. Other parts of the supply chain, logistics, warehouses, and the stores itself would also be able to use this same data, and they will see what their step before was doing. So if you had, I don't know, for example, eggs, and they are stored on the temperature up to, let's say, 18 degrees, and you put them for some period of time to the temperature 35 degrees, and then back to 18 degrees, you have a problem. You have a problem. So that's the general idea, and we will go later on into the more details. And this is just for the start, to get you a short teaser to think about it. Later on, we will go into the more depth. And I will give back the word to Anna now. Thank you for this introduction. But if you have any question now, or later, we will be all here most of this first part of the day. Ask, stop, and ask. I don't know if you have any questions now. Okay, probably will be more later on when we go to the more details. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinko, and Julian also. So the coordinator of the project is Green Digital Innovation Hub, focused on providing a digital innovation ecosystem based on green, eco-friendly technologies for the private economy and public administration. So I would like to invite once more Julian to continue with the presentation.
No, I will continue with the presentation of our organization. We are Green Digital Innovation Hub. We are based in Bucharest, Romania, and our goal is to promote digitalization in green technologies. Next slide, please. What digital innovation hubs are? In the context of the multi-financial network from 2021 to 2027, the European Commission has proposed a new funding program dedicated exclusively to supporting the digital transformation of the European society, both economic and social. So our mission, as I say, is to provide a digital innovation ecosystem based on green technologies for the private economy and for the public administration. Our vision is based on the ambition to transform the way of actors involved in the public and private environment operate by supporting them in the process of adopting the green technology and the digitalization transfer process. Here you can see the values that mark the way in which Green Digital Innovation Hub operates. First is the ideal governance, organic self-sustainability, less bureaucracy, innovative partners, virtually perfect and green technologies. Here you can see in more detail our next slide. Next. One back. We propose to sustain the development of the green technology and digitalization through 5 platforms. The platform are Green Tech Academy, Green Tech Network, Green Tech Arena, Green Tech Policy, and Green Tech Project. Here you can see the service that Green EDIC provides. So we have business coach, training and development for professionals. We have access to the funding opportunities to our members and our partners. We also promote the green technologies, digital marketing, green networks. The Green Tech Policy Program is more focused on green tech projects that support the policy makers. And we have here innovation supports and consultancy, research and development services, development of innovative projects, just like today. GreenED has the has four main functions as every DIX. These functions are test before invest, access to funding. Next slide. Access to funding, innovation ecosystem, and so test before invest, access to funding, ecosystem, and development and training for professionals. Here you can see the files and technology that we have expertise. Please, next slide. Here is our members. This is our international partners, and we also have a board of experts. This is our team, internal team, and this is our board of experts. We have experts from many fields, from big data, high performance computer, algorithmics, I don't know, aeronautics, from every field. We have an expert. We will welcome everybody to join us in our journey to digitalization and transition to the green technology. And if there is to be a future, it will be green. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. So the Hadasbar is engaged in the implementation of state-of-the-art technologies in the area of agriculture. Their work is focused on developing innovation solutions for the farmers according to their needs and bringing artificial intelligence methodologies to the daily use of the farmers. Please, Dr. Breuer, to take the floor.
Good morning. Hadasbar is a very new startup located in Israel. So our vision is to implement new technologies to the agricultural area. We have very close connection to the farmers in Israel, especially in the Jordan Valley near the Sea of the Galilee. I worked for them for 40 years as a software engineer, and we developed in Hadasbar some different solutions for their needs. And especially we try to implement artificial intelligence technologies for the day use of the farmers. Next. A few words about us. Hadasbar is the owner of this business. Hadas has very deep skills with implementing new technologies, where I am responsible for the data science, and both of us responsible for the new algorithms of our application. You can find more information in our website later. Next. Thank you. Next. We were involved in two previous projects, one of them from the FP7 of the European Union. It's called CLAFIS. It tried to integrate different agricultural information system. You know, the innovative or the sophisticated farmers in Israel sometimes use between 8 to 10 different information systems. The irrigation system, the fertilizer system, the ERP, the farmers, and everything. And we try to integrate all these information to one system. With not a lot of success, we were 13 partners from 9 countries. The second project was the Bilateral project from the Europa framework, which we did it with an institute from Poland. We tried to predict the the quality and the yield of the avocado. We have a data set for 20 years back and try to predict what will be the next year. We have the information about irrigation, fertilization, and of course the result salt. And now we are in the FTP. Okay. Again, we try to promote new technologies to the agricultural area, and in very different, you can see in the bottom of the slide, very different agricultural areas like trees, crops, livestock, and even aquaculture, both the advanced farm and the very old farm. We try to cover all the process from the characterization, then to the analyze, to the to implement the logistics and the marketing process. Our capabilities in the artificial intelligence and the in the ICT. In the artificial intelligence, we are a specialist in the natural language processing, where we try to simplify a very complex text. I will show in a minute an example in Hebrew. You have to know Hebrew. There is one here that know the meaning of the word shalom. Okay, so I was thinking about a little bit about it. Just a minute. Back one. Back. Should be a surprise. So we have a little bit experience in the computer vision, and of course we know how to use the standard methodologies of machine learning, like linear regression and random forest and so on. In the ICT area, we develop application end-to-end solution from the application to the cloud to database. That every application do it today. Now is for the surprise. Okay, so what you will see what you can see here. It's a text of our ancient book Talmud. It's a 2,000 years old book, which compound or consists of Hebrew and Aramaic text, with a lot of disagreements between rabbis from different generations. So if you want to understand what is written there, it's a very complex. So what we try to do is to build graphical elements to show this information for anyone, for everyone. And you can see here as decision trees, tables, and diagrams. Well, part of the diagrams and the tables are manual. We build it manually every day. We learn this book. Our religious rules ask us to learn this book every day, and so on. So build these tables every day. But we began to build NLP, natural language processing methodologies, to build these tables and these categories automatically from the text. This is a very big challenge, and in the last months we tried to implement these algorithms on regulator documents, where the farmer or the advisor want to understand what he allowed to do or not allowed to do with spraying or so on. And we try to take these three texts and to show it more easily to the farmer. Now our project Digital Food, back one, Digital Food, the quality and traceability using blockchain. This project, the FTP, we bring the information about the avocado. Next, please, Yulen. Here you can see the avocado yearly life cycle, new season, blooming, growth, picking season, and then the sort in the sort result in the packing house. This is every yearly. And next, the next slide, we speak about all the avocado supply chain, where we try to bring, and Sonia, all the information from the avocado. You can see in the left up corner, in the Jordan Valley, the kibbutzim, I'll speak about this kibbutz later, has something like 2,000 pits in the soil, where they have these samples. And if the farmer wants to plant avocado or mango or nothing, everything, he can go to the central laboratory and ask, this land is good for avocado or not? They have all the samples for, I think, 30 or maybe 40 years ago. Every pit they keep these samples in the cupboard, and then he can ask the farmer can ask the laboratory if this land is good or not. So we can trace the avocado chain from the land, from the quality of the soil to the harvest and the salt result. It's very small pictures, and then with the delivery by trucks, by containers on the sea. You see, if the consumer could know that the avocado that he buy in the supermarket, ready in container, 20 days on the boat, but in 2 days there will no electricity in this container. What it can cause to the quality of this avocado when you buy it from the supermarket, you don't know if it's good or not because it's green, it look like. But if there was no electricity for 1 or 2 days, it can be a very big problem. Like Vinko said about the eggs, the same thing here in with the avocado. So we brought a lot of information to Sonia. Sonia take all this information in this project. I can't see, you know. This is our part in this project. Next. We have some different partners to our business. Next. The first one is kibbutz. Kibbutz is a very special community in Israel. We have something like 250 kibbutzim. Kibbutzim is the plural of kibbutz, okay? You cannot say kibbutzes, okay, it's kibbutz. Okay, so we have something like 250 kibbutz. Each kibbutz has 100, 200 families which own all the assets together, like the communism.
Yeah, you are already in communism.
Right. Okay. So they work together, they own all the assets together, and they are very, very sophisticated in the agricultural area. That they promote the agriculture in Israel. Israel knows as a very advanced country in agriculture because they don't afraid to invest money and try new technologies and so on. So as I told you, I worked for them in the Jordan Valley for many years. This is one example of one of them, Kibbutz David, the Lower Galilee in Israel, never mind. 200 families, they also produce dairy products for their community, for their hotel, and so on. So this is one of them. The second, I spoke about the packing house in the Jordan Valley, which deal with mango, avocado, and corn, especially, and also one of them. And the last one is a very special partner. You know, in south of Israel, there is a very big desert. Not big, not Haaretz. We call it Negev. It's big for Israel. So I think it's 1/3 of the area of Israel is the Negev. And there are a lot of hills in this desert. On each hill, there is a family of the Bedouins. Bedouins, you know what's the Bedouins? Yeah. Okay. And we have a good connection with the Abu Karinat tribe. We call tribes, all these families, and they grow sheep. The sheep in this area, each family has from 50 to 600 sheep per each herd, and we brought them to Prima, if you know what, it's one of the framework in the European Union to project to how we can promote their, how to improve their business. Now the next slide is about my contact, I think. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boyer. The importance of digital transformation in agriculture sector is also recognized by Smart Villages Digital Innovation Hub. They provide access to the latest knowledge and technology to support users in piloting, testing, and experimenting with the digital innovation in agriculture. So please, Dr. Grujic, Mr. Grujic, take the floor.
Thank you. Hello. My name is George. I'm PhD at agronomy, and together with my colleagues, we have founded Smart Village based in Kneževica and Prijedor region. Next slide, please. Why we did that? Because in recent times where digitalization is taking more and more of our everyday life, it's time to bring it more together to the people which are producers, which are in agro industry and regular producers, farmers on the field, so that we can bring those technologies to them so they can implement them and then use them with an ease and to a better production and easier production. Next slide, please. What is our vision? This is part of the village Knežica, where we have this 6 dunum or 6 acre area, which is the part where the laboratory and the cohabitation area will be. And this 5 hectare area will be the area where we are planning to build the research plots, field experiments with different types of field crops and also fruits and even some small animals as well. What was the main vision? Because this is in the rural area, that we thought that the best way that we can connect more with the people, with the producers, so that they can see that around their houses, to be witnesses that something is happening there, that we are using different technology products, which then they replicate, reproduce, and use them on their own fields and orchards and whatever the type of production they're doing. Next slide. So when we were thinking about the way of how this smart village will exist and function in our society and our economical circumstances in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we saw that we have actually a problem with knowledge transfer from the formal ways of education on the faculties and different types of educational institutions. We saw that they are actually not so much, to be direct, efficient in the transferring of the digital knowledge or digital technology to the students or to be incorporated there. So in a way, it's a little bit regressive to say, at least. And then we thought, okay, this smart village can be a platform, a space where those students from the agriculture faculty or high schools, doesn't matter, can come and test their ideas on the ground, on the field, and check it. Is it a possibility? Is it something that will work or it will fail? Doesn't matter. The idea is for them to feel it, to feel the connection between the IT and the living thing, the plant, the animal, and the possibility of the connection, which is in a way connected to this idea of the blockchain, which are also a part of. Next slide, please. So, as again, we had some projects last year through which we have managed to get some funds to obtain the idea project idea, architectural idea. So that it's in its finishing phases that you can see on our site, which more pictures, I think, how that suggestion is looking. And also the composition of the, as I mentioned, of the smart village will be a digital farm, food hub, fab lab, multimedia studio, and the conference and workshop room for the co-working and co-living space as well. And that, as I mentioned, is to apply space and on the field, in the laboratory, and also the time for those who are interested to test their ideas there. Next slide, please. Also, part of our Smart Village community is Agri-Tech group, which is led by our co-founder Mirko, who is transferring knowledge and learning together with kids from high school and from even some of them now on the faculty to implement new technologies, actually mainly the direct, how to say, use of certain hardware and software together on the field with real problems from the climate climate checking and measuring to the moments of the automatization in the greenhouses, or even to the point of some rovers and drones to use the computer vision as well to check crops. So they're very young group, but they're very progressive. To say that, I think that through those kids, we saw that even in the high school level, we can achieve a lot of ideas from them, because they are in a way new, but they are more prone and more open to new technologies, and they accept them with more furious and more faster than we do. So maybe we are a little bit skeptic, but they take it for granted and use it. So a lot of ideas sometimes we learn from them, to be honest. Next slide, please. Our part in the blockchain concept was on the wine production. Wine production is slowly growing from 0 to now quite a few hundred hectares for Bosnia-Herzegovina, which is, to say, a little bit unusual, mainly in the southern part of Herzegovina, where the wine production and vineyards are more common, but now also in our northern part as well. We saw the rise for up to 450%. So that's a huge expansion, and both in the wine production and also in the area where the grapes are grown. Why we also found a connection here, because this is old new thing to say, in the growing sense that vineyards are being grown again, and wine production is going to start from anew. I think that's the way that we can easier trace and obtain and even persuade producers to implement certain checkpoints or to measurements and things where they can use digital technology, which can take it as a standard, and through some platform or through some application or whatever, to use it as source for the blockchain, but not just for the blockchain, for their products as well, because he can do them marketing for himself, to promote himself as well. I think that's it from our part. Thank you once again.
Competence Center for Research and Development from Vinkovci is established to strengthen the innovation potential for advanced, competitive, and climate-neutral economy. So please, Mrs. Daniela Šarić-Bartolović, to say a few more words.
Thank you. Hello to everyone. My name is Daniela Šarić-Bartolović, and I work in Competence Center from Vinkovci. This is the business supporting institution established by Bucharest County in 2016. We started and fully operating in 2017 with a vision to promote and support bioeconomy. Our mission is to strengthen innovation potential for advanced, competitive, and climate neutral economy. Maybe we are located in Bucharest County, but not specifically and only for Bucharest County. In order to keep up with our schedule, we'll speed the presentation a little bit more than we would usually do. So these are a couple of milestones that SECOM achieved from September 2017 till December 2021. But one thing that we are very proud of is establishment of two STEM faculties in Bucharest County in Vinkovci. One is wood technology, which is launched in 2020, and the other is computer science, which is launched in 2021. Within these 2 academic years, we have more than 100 students enrolled. So beside this, we have we are engaged in preparation and implementation of projects funded from EU national funds, and these are currently implemented ones. Especially, first one is Smart Agri Hubs, since this is the kickoff of this project. One of these listed projects in the slide before is Wood Technology Center Slavonian Oak. These are the premises that we are located at. So if you go from Osijek to Vinkovci and to Županja toward the highway or the border, you are passing Gradište, and this is the facility that you will pass by. And please feel free to visit us whenever possible. This is a facility which has been funded by Ministry of Agriculture. Within this project, a multi-purpose building for research, production, and storage purposes has been built and equipped with the facilities for boiler room, wood dryers, CNC laboratory, experimental drying chambers, 3D modeling and quality control lab, and technology laboratory. Yes, thank you. We mentioned wood technology studies in Vinkovci, also computer science in Vinkovci. And now we will follow to a couple of projects that are under implementation. This one is funded by European Structural Fund. It is development and implementation of professional practice in studies in the studies of the Faculty of Forestry. Our partners are University's Agri-Faculty of Forestry, Chamber of Forestry and Wood Technology Engineers, Wood Cluster Slavonian Oak, and us as Competence Center. Within this project, we will improve employability of students through organization of professional practice for 400 students and the strengthening of competencies of 55 teachers and mentors. Business organization network development is a project where CECOM is participating as a member of the network, which is organized in order to support business supporting institutions in Croatia and to encourage standardization and specialization of business supporting institutions. The next project that we would like to mention is Green CVC. This project is funded from Interreg, and its cooperation of SMEs, business supporting institutions related to bioeconomy from Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro. Within this project, we established a green product design lab at the end of last year, and these are photos of equipment which we have available over there. Okay. Centricom.net is also Interreg funded project which is coordinated by the municipality of Stari Jankovci from Vukovar County, and this project is organizing institutions and companies in order to establish a common cross-border cluster in wood sector through which all the partners will exchange knowledge, experience, and know-how. We came to Rosewood. Rosewood is Horizon 2020 project, which has been implemented last 2.5 years. Even though we can say it's 4.5 years because we had one Rosewood project prior to this one, so this is a continuation directed more to digitalization of forestry and wood sector. We have 21 project partners from 18 countries, which were organized in hubs. Competence Center is a manager of Southeast Europe hub, where we have Slovenian, Greek, and Croatian partners. Two last slides are basically the most important project results that we have within Rosa 4.0, and one is collection of 459 best practices and innovations all over the Europe. Those examples of best practices have been collected and gathered in a knowledge platform, which has been established through the project, and it's free for use, and it's intended for stakeholders in all the stakeholders in value chain and for forestry and food industry. And the following slide shows online courses which have been developed through the project, as known as MOOCs, massive open online courses. So both tools are open for public. So please feel free to visit Rosewood or check on website and find out what information you can get. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Expert in providing a wide range of software solutions and blockchain technology is the company Cuspis. So please, Mrs. Maya, to take the floor and say two words about this.
Thank you. So my name is Maja Smoltic. I'm the director of Cuspis Croatia. Cuspis Group first started in United Kingdom in 2005. In 2009, we started in Croatia and North Macedonia, and in 2011 in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So we are mainly software development and project management company based in Croatia with sisters companies in these other countries. We have 17 years experience in software development, IT consulting, and project management. Each of this company in Southeast Europe have a professional management separated than their ownership. So we led numerous complex national and international projects related to software development and implementation. We also have ISO norms since 2009, ISO for Information Security Management System and Quality Management System, and this new two ISO norms for Business Continuity Management System and Service Management. So our first group of software products are healthcare software products. There are numerous products like complete prevention for school and adolescent medicine, then for specialist outpatient care protection, then microbiology laboratories, biochemistry laboratories. We have a software for hospitals, hospital information system. Then complete EHIS, integrated health information system, which is grouped for numerous models for primary healthcare, specialists, hospitals, e-prescriptions, e-orthopedic, and so on. So we have also for e-epidemiology, software for epidemiologists, home care software, and e-scheduling. We also have softwares implemented on national level in Croatia. National health system models for reports and tasks from school and adolescents medicine applications. Then for healthcare invoices and reports from primary healthcare specialists. Our second big product is central management system, managing the organizational structure of the health system, the central system of communications with hospitals. It says we have CEPIH. It's a central place for receiving, distributing, and monitoring vaccines in Croatia. And also one part is public. Okay, I can go. Can you just one back? Yeah, and one part is public national website for expression of interest for vaccination. Now we can continue. The second line of products are business productivity software. We have Office Productivity Suite for mainly document management, invoicing, administration, business processes, human resources. We also have small software for fitnesses and student centers, accommodations, restaurants, and students' employment. Thank you. Well, regarding to blockchain technology, Kuspis started to explore this technology in 2018. So we set up a small mining operation in our lab. Then we installed and put in the production nodes, and after that we built the Bitcoin Lightning node for payment processing. Our first ERC20 token was Suscoin token. So now we are focused on food quality trace, what is this decentralized application based on smart contracts with API and web interfaces. So in one sentence, our vision is to build software products that will give customers great benefits in a most simple way. Thank you.
And Terra Technopolis is a digital innovation hub established by the University of J.J. Strossmayer in Osijek, also owned by the city of Osijek and Osijek County. So please, Martina, say a few words about that. Hello, everybody. My name is Martina, and I'm an associate expert at Terra Technopolis. And today I will tell you a few words about Terra and its activities. So Terra Technopolis was founded in 2002 as a joint venture of the Josip Juraj Strossmayer University of Osijek, the city of Osijek, and the Osijek-Baranja County, with the aim to develop a knowledge-based economy by using new and significantly improved existing technologies. So Terra focuses on connecting science with the economy and providing infrastructural, financial, and business support to innovative and technology-based projects. On a daily basis, we provide business support to SMEs, especially regarding business planning, business internationalization, access to funding, and intellectual property management and protection. We are also a business incubator, so we offer office space and workstations, and we conduct a lot of educational activities related to technology, entrepreneurship, and intellectual property. Every year, more than 500 companies benefit from Terra's services. Next slide, please. So Terra is involved in several EU projects, funded within various programs such as Horizon, Erasmus+, COSME, and so on. I think it's worth mentioning that we have been a member of the Enterprise Europe network since 2008. And we are helping companies find partners abroad and internationalize their businesses. Also, in 2018, we became an EIT Food Hub Croatia. EIT Food is an initiative that aims to transform the European food system to make it more transparent, more reliable, and more trusted by the consumers. So we also organize a lot of informative and educational workshops within this initiative. Those are intended for both students and entrepreneurs active in the agri-food sector. We also organize a lot of competitions within it. So we have competitions in which the participants can earn financial rewards, or in which students can receive paid internships in leading European agri-food companies. Next, please. In 2021, Terra founded a digital innovation hub, which is based in Osijek, Croatia. The hub helps companies enhance their competitiveness concerning their production or business processes, products, or services by using digital technologies. It provides business and financial support for introducing innovations through the value chain, and acts as the first regional contact point that strengthens the innovation ecosystem. The consortium gathers 15 organizations based in East Croatia, among which there are constituents of the 2 East Croatian universities, several development agencies, business support organizations, and renowned Croatian companies with vast knowledge and experience in the IT sector and digitalization processes. And finally, according to the publicly available databases, there are around 116 registered ex-producers in Croatia, 15% of which are situated here in the Slovenia and Baranja region. And within this project, Terra is responsible for recruiting producers of eggs with functional value, such as those enriched by the omega-3 fatty acids, or those produced in a specific way in a term of rearing poultry, for example. And I will conclude my presentation with this. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Martina.
So unfortunately, the assistant director of the Croatian Agency for Agriculture and Food could not be here with us today because of the sudden personal matters. So we will jump right to the next presentation by Mr. Vinko Kojundžić, the founder of Cuspis. So please take the floor.
So here we again here. Now we will talk a little bit more in depth about what we are aiming to do. And basically the presentation is split in 2 parts. First part may be boring for someone, but I'm trying to get the level field. The first part is about blockchain, just to understand in general terms what is a blockchain, what is this buzzword, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on and so on. And then we will skip to the specific idea in this current state. You can stop me at any time and ask questions, or if something is not clear what I'm saying, or you want more in-depth information, or you can do it at the end of the presentation. So, as with any invention, blockchain is relatively old, but we heard relatively late for that. So it started all in 1991 and 1992 with the idea of the new technology and how it can be used as some core line of the blocks that are basically in most cases not changeable. Later on, basically for several years, this idea was just on the paper, and then can we move to the next slide? And then basically it all started, and we will talk later how it started. But let's just say what is blockchain and why we want to use it. So everybody knows, but let's just go from the beginning. It's a blocks. You have a block of data that is written and then distributed to all other nodes, regardless what type of the blockchain we are talking. The core of the blockchain is cryptography, sorry, and basically you cannot start using blockchain if you first step, what you have to do is to establish your digital identity. So basically all data is digitally signed. That's why I'm saying that you have to establish a digital identity. And when we are talking about that you cannot change data, yes, you cannot change data unless you have enough computer power to have more. In most of the cases, there are several differences, but in most of the cases, you have to have enough power to have more than half of the computer power of the whole blockchain. Then you can try to redo the blocks. For the all established blockchains that you heard, it's virtually impossible because it's such level, and you will see later, of the computer power that is hard for any organization alone to overpower it. So basically, once again, data, you have it, you put it in the block, and then block after block makes a chain. Each block has information about previous block, that's why we call it a chain, and has their own hash, so basically their own, let's say in a way, signature. And you heard all of you heard those terms, so let's just get it to the point. First of all, each blockchain has to have nodes. Nodes are servers, let's say it this way, there can be different kinds of, but in a nutshell, they are servers that has all data of the blockchain. So if you're talking about Bitcoin, everybody knows about the Bitcoin. If we are talking about Bitcoin, each Bitcoin node has all data from the beginning to now. And you have 100,000 of Bitcoin nodes. So whichever node writes the block, all others are copying those blocks. So this is the node. And all blockchains more or less have these basic building blocks. It's a node. It's a collection of all data that happened from its first block, and it's called the Genesis block, to now. We have two major, there are lots of others mixed and so on, but two major algorithms how we are doing how the blockchain is working. One is proof of work, and Bitcoin is a great example of the proof of work. Long time ago, so sometime in 2011, when I first stamped upon Bitcoin, I installed it on my laptop at that time, and laptops in 2011 were not as powerful as this one, and I was able to mine it from the laptop. So the idea how it works in very simple terms is you get a challenge, and you have to come as close to that challenge as you can. The miner, we'll come back to this term, the miner, the machine that comes the closest to this challenge gets the ability to form the next block, write it, and all the nodes will propagate it. If you have ability to write this block, you will get the reward. So you will get Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever else, if you are talking about proof of work, you will get a reward for that work. Also, you will get a reward for writing all transactions that happen in that period. So one type of rewards is just to writing the block. It's from the algorithm. The other type of rewards are coming from transactions. And when we are talking about Bitcoin, just to conclude this part, everybody knows Bitcoin has limited supply. So there will be limited number of the Bitcoins that ever will be minted. What happens afterwards? Afterwards, the money that will support the network will come from the transaction fees. Because once you mine all the Bitcoin, there is no mining anymore, but there will be transactions. And that's why they say the Bitcoin is, first of all, it was the first, but it's a gold standard because it has a limited circulation. It's a limited amount of Bitcoins will be ever mined, unless there is a possibility to change that, but you have to have more than half nodes that agree on this, and it's very, very difficult. So as we are standing today, amount of Bitcoin it will be fixed, and for the time the network will support itself with the transaction fees. The second, and when we are still on the proof of work, when you read in the newspapers, it consumes lots of electricity. Yes, it does. It wasn't the initial intention. The initial intention is just to make it complex mathematical calculations to show that you are basically focused and that you're working on it. But as more and more computers and later on specific machines came to the market and people start to use it, the complexity just soared. And now, yes, you have machines that typically are consuming 3 kilowatts of 3 to 5 even per machine kilowatts of electricity. And it's a huge amount of electricity. And yes, when we're talking about Bitcoin, it is consuming a lot of electricity just to mine it. The other part is proof of stake. So this is a little bit later protocol that emerged. And there are also different variations, but everything basically now today are coming to those two camps. And we here have an example of Solana. I will come later on to Ethereum. So basically, you don't solve complex mathematical equations. You don't need lots of computing power. What you do, you don't have miners, you have validators. So what you have to do, you have to put the currency. So if it's Solana, then it's their own currency. If it's Ethereum, it's Ether. You have to put the currency, and then you become part of the network that will be able to write the next block. There's different algorithms how this is done, but this is the main difference. So if you want to work and mine Bitcoin, it's the simplest example. You have to have very powerful and very expensive machines that are using lots of electricity. If you want to validate, so this is like mining equivalent, validate it, Solana, for example, then you will have much less, you can use normal server, just a very fast disks, more or less normal server. Ethereum is here example because it's in both camps. Why? Because it started and still is mostly proof of work, but it's moving to Ethereum 2.0 and it's moving to proof of stake. So this is the general idea and general things about what is the blockchain. So we have proof of work, we have proof of stake, proof of work, lots of mathematical computations, lots of power, very high-end machines. Proof of stake, more recent, much less electricity, much less computer power. And for example, there are also numerous different blockchains. But for example, in the proof of stake, we have Solana here, which is relatively new, but is the biggest in those 2 years since start. So they started, I think, somewhere beginning of 2020. Then they have now more transactions than Ethereum. They're still developing, and Solana, unlike Ethereum, on the other hand, has problems. They had 2 downtimes, one recent, I think it was last week for a couple of hours. But number of transactions when you're running a full node, it's very high. And I can give you from our experience, because in our lab we are running all those nodes. For Solana, you need at least 200 megs up and down optical symmetrical link to work only for Solana. And you need SSD disks, very large ones, and I think at least 12 cores. For Ethereum, you don't need almost anything. So you need normal processor, you need SSD disks, but your network consumption is 3-4 megabits up and down, download and upload. So there are some differences. The oldest one is Bitcoin, then Ethereum, and then everyone else is coming afterwards. And of course, everybody heard about Satoshi Nakamoto, and I am proposing to everyone to read his white paper. It's very interesting because this white paper was written in 2018 in the middle of the last big financial crisis. And one of the reasons why he or a group of them, nobody knows who is behind Satoshi Nakamoto, but one of the reasons why he limited supply was, and it's very interesting to read in that white paper, is exactly that you cannot have unlimited supply of anything, and the value of anything that is unlimited will sooner or later go down. So Satoshi basically proposed several improvements in the original, we talked at the beginning, 91 and 92 original blockchain protocol, and those improvements were implemented later, 1 year later in 2009, and basically the Bitcoin was born. I already said, I now mentioned also Litecoin and so on. The only thing that is maybe important on this blockchain general part to say, you have to make a difference between actual blockchains. So this is something like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Solana, Polkadot, or whatever, and tokens. Tokens, where is most of the hype, are mostly based on Ethereum, or now some other blockchains. So tokens are something that you can create, you can issue, but they are based on actually on Ethereum. And all this hype, when you look at the token and the up and downs, are mostly on the tokens, not on the Bitcoin, Ethereum, or for example, Solana, because they have actual blockchain behind them, and they have lots of functionality that are most likely not going away. Okay. So this is just for illustration. This is not the last, but the last before last. So this is S17 Bitcoin miner. S15, sorry, this is S15 in this case on the left side. It consumes a little bit less than 3 kilowatts of power. This is S17. Because you see the advancements, you need 2 power sockets now because it's over 3 kilowatts, so you cannot plug it in the single socket because all these sockets are more or less designed for maximum 3 kilowatts. And you open it, this is a 17, you have 3 motherboards. Each of them has on both sides processors. So this is only one side of one motherboard. And each processor has its own cooler on the top of it. So this is now you can imagine, we can just take from the picture. So now you can imagine what kind of computer power, this is ASIC processors. They're specifically made originally for recognitions, speech, video, and so video, pictures, and so on. But now we're using for the mining. So basically, you need a lot of computing power, and each of those processors need lots of power. And this is why Bitcoin mining, any proof of work, it's all similar. Any proof of work miners are needing lots of power. You have to power all these processors. And on the top of it is, in most cases, a special version, stripped version of the Linux operating system. And then one more thing that I didn't mention, just to understand the concept of the blockchain. In 2011, when I first started to mine Bitcoin for just experiment on my laptop, I used my laptop. Now, we have these machines, but they cannot mine by themselves. They have to pull together. So to mine one block, you need hundreds of thousands of these machines to mine one block. So what you have now, you have a special software called pools, mining pools, whatever blockchain you're talking about, if it's proof of work. You have to join that pool to have a higher statistical probability of finding this mathematical expression, nonce it's called, to be able to mine the block. So just to get real world experience, this is the actual miner. Okay, and now in the nutshell, to close this first part of the blockchain talk, why we and what are the main characteristics of the blockchain and why we want to use it in this case scenario. First of all, everybody's using, for the buying and selling tokens or the actual coins, and that's of course the first use that was everybody of course knows. But one of the very important, and it's very neglected and nobody's talking about, is this digital identity. So first thing, if you're using any, in the normal commercial terms, it's called wallet. You have to create wallet. What actually is a wallet? It's actually creating your own digital signature. That's basically it. So when we are talking about digital signatures, we know the digital signatures, for example, from USB sticks from the internet banking or from, I don't know, ID cards in some advanced countries and so on and so on. But every blockchain has digital identity. To use it, to interact with it, you have to have a wallet. That means that you created digital identity. So this digital identity nowadays are not used a lot, and it's free. So unlike transactions, when you are sending crypto up and down, or when you want to write the block, creating identity and using it, it's free on the blockchain. So imagine that you, for example, everybody is using username and password to log on your Windows laptops. Imagine to use this. It's free, you can use it anywhere, and you can port it to any other device or any other application. And that's something that I believe will be much more used in the future because this is free. So I can create my digital identity, I can sign anything in a way with these wallets, not only transactions on the blockchain, I can sign anything. And one of the things that will be done in the lab, when you want to register for the lab, you won't use any username and password. What you're going to use your wallet. So one of the innovations that we will put on the lab by the autumn, by the September, is you are registering with your wallet. So you will use your wallet to log in to application. This is, I didn't see lots of applications like that, I have to say. And I would say that this is one of the novelties that we will do in this course. Second thing is write once, read many times. And this is also very important. Reading is free. Whatever, in our case, or in any other case, whoever writes is paying for writing, but reading is free. And this is important to have in mind. Reading is always free. And what I said before, you can only write once. There are situations where you can change the blockchain, but you have to have, in most of the cases, more than 50% of the power. And that's one of the reasons when we are talking about emergent blockchains, you don't want to build anything on the blockchains with few nodes, or 10 nodes, or 100 nodes, or 1,000 nodes, because you can overpower it. And you don't have this right once. So you have to use blockchain that has enough nodes. We are talking about public blockchains. If you're using private blockchains, that means that you're closing it. It's definitely opposite of the idea of the blockchain, but you have to close it, you have to block access to it, and then you can write, I don't know, 10 nodes on the blockchain. Everyone can copy, for example, Bitcoin code or clone any blockchain code and write their own and run their own blockchain. But then we are back to decentralization, and we are back to the same old story. Traceability, in any case, we are talking about food traceability, but you can trace anything on the blockchain. There are different implementations where some data is hidden, but in the most cases, you can read data and for free. That's very important. That's a huge difference to any other application. Global, you don't need any infrastructure. So here, let's go back to the identity. For me to create identity, I do not need server in my company, university, or institution. I just create a wallet. Most of the wallets are now plugins on the browsers, but also you have a standalone wallet. So you have a plugin on the browser, you create your identity, and you can use it anywhere in the future. Even today, for signing transactions, but in the future, I'm thinking that identity will be one of the big new services that will be used on the blockchain, and you don't need any servers. You pay for writing, but you don't need servers yourself. So this project will be fully decentralized in a way that we will use digital identity from the blockchain, from one. Second, we have our own running nodes, but the users will be writing to the closest node to them, not to our node. So nothing in this application will be centralized. Thank you. And now we are coming to what we are more focused now, and this is traceability and quality on the blockchain. So my first question is, we are talking now, yesterday we have been visiting eggs, so I'm using eggs as an example, but it can be on any other product depending on technology. But imagine when you're buying eggs on the each egg or on the dozen eggs on the package, that you just scan the QR code. This is simple QR code, nothing new here. Each mobile that you have is reading by default QR codes. So imagine that you can scan QR code and then see when it was produced, how it was produced, when it was delivered to supply chain or to the shop if it wasn't directly delivered, how long this eggs has been in the shop. Would you buy rather this with the information you can get instantly, or buy no-name egg without any declaration on it? I'm betting that once you start thinking about buying and you get information on any food in the future that you can buy, you will focus on that. And one more important thing that yesterday talked, and it really stuck with me, the producer that we had visited and we later on sit down and talk, he said, I'm imagining that in the next decade we will have a food crisis and everybody's talking about it, and people will consume probably less and will think what they are going to buy. But when you start to think what you're going to buy, you start to think about everything. If you're analyzing prices, you will also analyze everything else in that product. If you're not analyzing, you're not analyzing. But my assumption is that we are coming to the decade of the food, and probably food prices that are going up. And when people start to analyze prices, they will also start to analyze packages, how many grams, how many pieces, and also when they start to read that, they will read the quality of the food they're buying, especially if they're going to buy less. Then they will try to buy better. Okay? Okay, so now just on the formal slide, and then we'll come back to the technology. I already said in the morning, we are going to do a technology roadmap. We are going to do actual applications. I said also with the digital identity from the blockchain, and everything that will be written directly by the end user. So we won't be intermediate as a central site for anything, except if they don't have a website with their own application to use it and use web services, then they will use a website, but it will be decentralized. And the lab facilities that will be done will be, everybody will be able to access it. Everybody will be able to create digital identity without calling us or Terra or Greendick or whatever other partner. So everything will be fully decentralized, as the idea of the blockchain is. Okay? And we talked about this in the morning, but just let's come back to into the more details. The idea is to get information about food at the point of buying. Maybe I didn't introduce myself, but so I will just tell you a few things about myself and how in my everyday life, I experienced this problem. So I graduated computer science and electrical engineering in Zagreb, and then after 6 years, I moved to London and did my MBA there, and there the Caspis Group was founded. And from that time on, I'm basically divided. I'm traveling a lot, and I'm basically divided the time between London and Zagreb. When I come to the farmers market, Tržnica in local terms for those who are from the local area. When I come to the farmers market here in Croatia or Bosnia or wherever I'm traveling, and I want to buy a food, local food, I'm not sure what I'm buying. That's the point. I see, for example, Julian, and I'm not going buying from him because he's too young, he doesn't look that he is working in the field. I'm going to buy from the old lady who looks like that she's working in the field. And that's my only way of choosing. The only other thing I can choose is to look at the food and pretend that I'm expert and I know the egg that you saw or this apple, how it was produced. I don't know. So basically, my buying decisions when I go to the farmer's market where I'm paying premium price, for the, let's call it organic or one way or another a natural food, I'm doing that because I have trust. I don't have any parameters that will give me information, objective information that I can make decision. And this is not only here. When I go in London to my local farmers market, which is in Marylebone, it's the same story. I have producers that come to London. They're selling usually over the Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. And I also trusting looking at the person, looking at their hands, are they working or not? And this is not any point of choosing. I really don't know what I'm buying and what quality I'm buying. I know that I'm paying premium price, and that's basically more or less everything I know. I don't know, for example, since the UK is a bigger market, those farm producers usually come on Thursday night and with all the stock, and they first sell it on Friday on one location, Saturday the second location, the Sunday on the third location. And where this stock is in the meantime? In the ones, I don't know, maybe it's refrigerated, but I'm not sure. And especially if you're talking about cheese or some products that need some conditions to preserve their quality. So to come back to the traceability, at the point of buying, and the focus is the analysis of our project told us that the premium food, those that are already paying higher premium for that, those are the first targets where we want to show and educate through this, of course, show and educate producers how they can make difference in their products and how they can show customers that they are buying quality food. And this is just in a nutshell the story that we have been talking about, but let's just go through it. We are starting from the producer, and that's the beginning point. And some of the things stops with the producer. Some producers are selling directly themselves on the farmer's market, in the last examples. So if I have eggs, and let's stick here with the eggs. So the farmer, when you're producing eggs, you have to get hens. So one day you buy lots of hens and you write, okay, this is the hens that I bought this January, for example. I write down that in application is essentially in the blockchain. Then hens has three parameters that you have to focus on. It's oxygen, temperature, and water, three most important parts, of course. And also I have a system. So if you are professional producers, you have already, most of them have systems in place monitoring those three conditions. However, they're sticking with them. Those information doesn't leave producers in most of the cases. And what we want to do here is that they will use this information. Those producers that already have some sensors, just to connect and send it. You don't need to retype it. Nobody's going to retype it. You have to make a simple interface, and we are going to bring to lab web services interface where any vendor or any producer of the software for the vendors can connect directly and will directly call smart contract on the blockchain. No intermediaries, directly calling smart contract on the blockchain. If it's smaller producers and they don't have a sensors, they're manually measuring those data, then they will have a web application for that. So if I'm a producer and I go to farmer's market, I don't have all other steps. I just directly go to farmer's market, and I will be able to go to farmer's market regardless is it here or any other country that I visit or live in, and scan the code and see what was happening with this product. It was, for example, temperature in the normal regions that are favorable for that product, or the oxygen or the water itself, how it was raised, and basically when those eggs have been picked up and when they came to the farmer's market, or if they have been going through the supply chain, when it was collected by the supply chain professionals, logistic companies, when it came to the store, and how long, let's just stick to the simple parameters, how long this egg has been in the store. So the egg life is 28 days, more or less. If I'm buying an egg that is 29 days, 27 days, for example, old, I don't know, maybe I would rather buy egg that is 10 days old, just to simplify, just not to talk about. So the idea is not to disrupt current providers, but to connect. That's the idea of this lab that will be presented. So current providers are doing their job. They're specialized in sensors. They're specialized in farming techniques. They're specialized in irrigation, like what Shalom said, and so on and so on. What we want to do, we want to get to show that it's possible to connect the data and make a difference, especially to the end customer. And this is just a sample what you will get on the mobile, more or less, once you scan the specific product. So you will have the specific lot number where it was produced, and you will see the range. Of this case, it was for the C products, oxygen, temperature, and salinity, and you will see if it's everything in the proper range. Just it one look. That's enough for me. I just want to know if everything is okay or not with this product and how old is it. The right side, I didn't talk about it. So as any food producers, they have some health checks. In the case of the eggs, they have, I think, every 2 months, they have to take samples for salmonella. Some other have salmonella, Escherichia, and so on and so on. I want to know if all these checks went okay. Because some products, not all, you can have salmonella and sometime, or Escherichia, and sometime, and then you can treat it and come back as a clean product. So I want to know what was happening. And this is very simple, and the idea is to have on the mobile one on the left side, and afterwards the right side one behind another, just with one look to get information about this product. Nothing too complicated, nothing, but I want to scan and to have information about that product and the quality. So we are talking about quality, not quality assurance, quality and traceability. This is in the words, but let's just go into more specifics a little bit. So I already said, we would like to have, and we will have the centralized application. If there are producers that are already selling software or sensors to the producers, they will be able to integrate easily via web services. It's called API interface, their software, and basically send the data. So we are not going after the existing market, existing producers of the equipment, or existing software producers. We want to share or connect the data. And that's what I said, manufacturer, whatever tools he's using, will be able to use data from the sensors automatically. So basically he doesn't have to put anything in. Or if he doesn't have it, or he or she has manual sensors, then type it in. Okay. The second thing, after the producers, if it goes to the supply chain, I want to know when it went to the supply chain, how long was it in the warehouse, and when it came to the shop. So this is my questions, especially if you are having products like avocado, for example, what Shalom said, or wine even. You don't want to have, I don't know, wine on 40 degrees, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you want to know, sometimes it's called, if it's lower temperature, cold chain, but you want to know the chain of events that led this product to you. And again, we have existing software and technical and devices that are measuring, but more or less those are for those separate parts of the production and supply chain. You don't have connectivity between them. Most of the connectivity between them have been based on the barcode to identify the product, and some other, and against barcodes to identify the serious lot numbers and on and so on and so on. But that's basically what is this product and where it came from. It's not about what is the quality and what happened with that product. And the last part is in the actual shops or the farmers markets. Basically, when you come back and you come to the shop, you want to scan it very easy. You don't need any new technology. You have your mobile, and whoever has mobile, and I would guess that more or less everybody today has a mobile. Even my parents have a mobile, which are very old by now. They will be able to scan it and get one information about this product. And that's the point. So decentralized digital identity for those that are entering data, and consumer is reading without any cost, because reading on the blockchain is free, and as well as digital identity, and to get at one site information. And this is what will make difference at the end. I'm always coming from myself. If I'm paying premium prices, then I want to see the difference. If I'm paying low prices, I'm not looking for the difference. That's for sure. But when you start with the premium prices, then we are talking about difference. And also with the egg production, there is competition. Yesterday we had a long talk about production, but also about competitors. Competitors are coming every day to the market. If some product is, let's say, like avocado, gold, new gold, everybody will try to produce it if they can. Even those on the Sicily will try to produce it if they can. So the idea is you always have competition and you want to be step ahead, and the step ahead will be the quality. And this is new, I would say, new component of the food chain, where we are talking about quality and not quality assurance. And now we are coming to my favorite slide, which was meant to be surprise, and it's going to be surprise. This is what they always ask me. How do you know that they are not going to lie? How do you know that, let's start with the producers, they're not going to type in wrong data? Well, the answer is here, and I always say it. You cannot fool all people all the time. In other words, take the honey. Last year in this part of Europe, you didn't have lots of honey, and some types of honey you didn't have at all because you have freezing temperatures at the time of the blooming, and you didn't have honey. But if you were using this and you were trying to tell lies, you would write down that you have honey, that the bees are producing honey, and so on and so on. Then we would fast forward to this year, and somebody will start to look at the production from the last year. They will see that they are the same, something is strange, and will be able to read all the data. So you cannot change your data. If you lied last year, you will be caught. You cannot lie it all the time. Some people can lie, some people can fool some people all the time, but you cannot fool everyone at all the time. And that's the point. You cannot change your data, and this is the biggest selling point. This is the equivalent, and I will draw the parallel here. This is equivalent as it's a German software company called SAP. SAP. The one reason why they succeeded and they are today in their business, biggest European company, software European company, is that their business logic was you cannot change data in any case once you write it. And it started as a logical decision from the technology part, but soon it became the tool for the investors. If I want to invest in some company, I want them to have SAP. Why? Because I know they cannot change the data. And that's the point. And this is one of the, when you were reading in the newspapers, some companies are implementing SAP before they go to the IPO or they go to the stock market, or they have some investors. This was the assurance to investors that the data that was typed cannot be changed, so they can go back and check everything. Same story here with the blockchain. Regardless, if we are talking about food or any other entry, you can go back, you can trace it, and you can read it. That's the point. An answer to the most common question I so far had: how do you know they're not lying? I know because they will be caught, because you can analyze all data and they cannot change it. Once they know that, for example, this year there was a newspaper about this honey that people were producing, and there was no that type of the honey at all. And then it turned out that basically it was imported or it was other type of the honey. And then you check what they wrote in the blockchain easily, and then you see that they said, yes, we have been producing it, and you know they're lying. And their reputation is gone forever. And this is basically the end. I try to make it simple, not to use too many technological wordings, not to use too many short names. However, you can ask any question, any depth you want, so I can go to the deeper points in any of this technology and the ideas. So this is the time to ask questions, or later on, we are not going anywhere, and to ask why something. Yes, please. Finally, the question. Yes.
Yeah, I saw your presentation. It's really good, and traceability is really one advantage, especially for a buyer. But what about protecting personal data exposure? Because wallets are visible on the network, and we can see transactions. Actually, we cannot connect a wallet with a person, but in one way, there is even visible personal information of the wallet if the system is going there. So how that system will provide some security about personal data exposure? So that was my concern about blockchain globally.
Great question. When you talk about blockchain technology, you don't have personal information, as you said. So if we are talking about this application, you create your wallet, nobody knows that it's you, and you log in with your address and your digital signature. So even when you log into the website, if you're using website or you send a smart contract, we don't know who you are. And the idea is, and just to drop first, and all these identifications are focused more on financial transactions. And when you go to the exchange and you want to buy with the euro or dollar or kuna, when you want to buy cryptocurrency, then they ask you for personal information. So basically, we are not doing central, and all these exchanges are basically centralized site. This is not the centralized site, most of them. When you go to the Coinbase, you go to the Binance, it's a more or less centralized site in most of its functions. They ask you for your passport ID, and you have to verify even to you have to shoot a short video verifying that it's you. So to come back to your questions, so we are not centralized site. Everyone can log in with their own wallet, and they will have when they log in first time, they will have two parts: information they want to provide. None of the fields will be mandatory. And the second, what will be mandatory, to choose which product they are producing. So the products will be managed by the smart contract. So we will have now five products, and each product is going to have their own parameters. So the smart contract itself, the design of the smart contract, we did a lot of in the last few years for testing purposes. So I would say that we really mastered it. So we won't use hard-coded information about the products in the smart contract. The input from the producers to the smart contract will be essentially 3 strings. So first string will be code of the product, 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. Second string, so now we know code. Second string will be the parameters in the same string separated. So we will use 2 same strings for any product. And the third string, that is not going to be in this smart contract, is going to be written on one of the blocks, is the validation. So for example, if I have X, to make it simple, I have 3 parameters, for example, oxygen, water, and the temperature. So I will choose as a provider to produce X, and the smart contract itself, the administrator of the smart contract, we already said before that for X you have those 3 parameters. The temperature has to be 2 digits less than something, that the oxygen has to be up to 3 digits, 2 digits in practice, and that water flow would be whatever digits that is. So the smart contract will take care about that input data passes logical validity checks, but the information about the product that you are producing, about producer, will be up to the producers. So in general, you could have producers that don't want to have any information about them, but you will be able to scan again and see the conditions. So you will have to write the conditions, and I will see, okay, this is the product. So if I'm buying, for example, from the farmer's market, I will be able to scan. I won't know the name of the producer and so on, but I will know the quality. And we will be able to trace this to that address if anything happens. We will know the address. That's the minimum of the decentralized that you need. But we have the completely decentralized product. And this is a problem with lots of IT and non-IT consultants. They are still, when you're talking about blockchain, they're still thinking about centralized applications. And then they start to build websites, they start to build user passwords. I don't understand, for example, why I need user password for Binance. If I have a wallet, I should be able to log in with the wallet. Why I need all this management of the users and passwords? Technology, blockchain technology gives us identity without all this. And all the exchanges are using, except some decentralized ones, are using user passwords, like in the old days. And I have a problem with our own team. They're still thinking about, they have proposals, although they have been working for years now on the blockchain field, they have some proposals when developing applications that are centralized. Because this is the way of the thinking that we have been raised with. We have been raised with relation databases, some of us even a little bit before with non-relational databases. There have been non-relational databases that were emerging and some are using, so some are used for some purposes, but completely decentralized application is for the most of the people in IT sector and the consultants concept that it's hard to adapt to because we can be raised in different worlds. Sorry if I was too long for the answer.
No, actually, that's a good answer.
Thanks. Any other question? Be brave. Yes?
When retailers don't sell food, fruit or cheese, they need to bring it back to refrigerator chambers. And for instance, you can find the same piece of cheese 3 days, consequently, in shop. You can trace those 3 days with changing of temperature and humidity regimes conditions.
The idea is to trace, if you can go to this picture with all the pictures, one slide. So the idea is, first is to focus on producers, because without producers you cannot have. But the idea is that each of the parts of the supply chain and then the shops to input data. So for example, if I'm supply chain, I would, when I'm taking this slot of X, let's talk about X, I will be also interested in scanning the history of those X. And then when I'm transporting, for example, to my warehouse, if I'm supply chain specialist, I would write down, I took it today. My cold chain or whatever chain I have of the logistics was this, and then it went to warehouse. So not too many data, and then to warehouse, in and out, and all of them have software for that. So we're not talking about collecting some new information. Those information exists, but only for those that are running it. And that's one of the biggest problems. And I would say that yes, the answer is yes. Basically, especially the shops and the warehouses and the supply chains are all computerized now. So we just want to connect to their system and for them to use the centralized application to write down the information. My background, maybe I didn't say, and why I really think that this is really, and basically how we came out with this idea. So I did my electrical engineering and computer science in Zagreb. Between Zagreb and London, I was working in Konzum. It's a retail chain for those, and I was IT director of the whole of the Konzum for most of the time, and really went through all these problems. So the centralized warehousing implementation, supply chain, shops informatization, and so on. And I have seen both sides. That's what I'm trying to point out. And even at that time, and it was 2003, 4, and 5, 2002, and 3, and 4. You already had all the data. That's the point. And nowadays you even have more. So you had already all the data in the computer systems. The only problem was even within the same institutions, those data were not exchanged. The only exchangeable parameters were barcodes, series, and maybe packages. That was the highest level that you have today in the supply chain. This is not specific for any country. This is what we have now and as a standards. And when we talk about moving to QR codes, they're still thinking about the same. They're not talking about quality. That's the difference. They just want to get more, because the limit of the barcodes, the simple barcodes that you already know with the lines, is the amount of data you can store. With 2D barcodes or QR codes, you can store more data so they can exchange more data. But nobody still is talking about quality, especially this kind of quality. And I would say, okay, maybe I had and we had together idea, but the fact that they choose this open call to support tells us a lot, that this is really one of the ideas that we believe, and I strongly believe myself, that will take off in one way or another. And the one thing that I mentioned maybe in the morning, we have different countries. So we will go to all those countries. So we are talking about Romania, Israel, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Croatia. And we will give information and knowledge to different actors, different countries, different systems, different specifics. Each country has their own specific. Some have highways, some doesn't have highways, which makes logistics more complex. Some needs, as Shalom was pointing in his presentation, ships. So lots of different supply chain factors. But the point is, all of them already have the data. The least data that you have is a bit producers, and this is. It's not only here. I have been lots of other different situations, because the producers are usually those ones that are the most stretched financially, time-wise, and so on. And when they are buying system, in most of the cases, excluding the biggest ones with unlimited budgets, but most of the producers are buying only the minimum what they need. And that's the point. The biggest problem is in this implementation with producers. Yesterday, we have been this egg production facility. It's fairly new, 2 years up and running. They have all the what that's needed for production, all the sensors, everything collecting, but they don't have add-on. They don't have a central computer to collect all data. They are collecting on devices that are industrial devices. Everything is, and they are checking it visually, but they don't have a central collection data. And this is just one small step, and then they can connect. So maybe I'm again but thank you for the question.
Can you give us information about the cost that is needed if SMEs or small producers, if they want to implement the blockchain technology? Maybe some.
So I see this as two different approaches. One is those that already have some software in place. They will talk to their provider, and their provider will be able to implement this technology. If we are talking about cost here, the only cost that you have is transaction cost. So wherever you are writing, you have to pay a fee. The fees now on the Ethereum network are quite high, but that's one of the reasons why for transactions, fee for transactions. That's one of the reasons why they are moving to this proof of stake, where it's envisioned and it's calculated that the fees will be very low. We have, for example, Solana with very low fees. So, for example, per transaction, we are talking about 2 millicents, I would say, at this point of time, per transactions. And probably Ethereum will come to the same. So we are talking about 2 millicents. What we are going to implement also in the meantime in this lab, you will be able to batch your information. So you won't get, for example, you have 3 parameters, and you will be able to batch together. So that will be one transaction when we're talking from it. So if you're talking about and what we are looking for in the next year, I'm thinking that we are talking about 2 millicents per transactions. Reading is free. And this is something that is even for the most, we are talking still about premium food for the start, but this is really small part of the price for that, you know. And this is decentralized, that's the point. So probably integrators will integrate this, and then they will sell some new component to the producers, or producers themselves, if they don't have it, they will be able to use this website for free. They will pay again only those 2 millicents at this point. It varies, but it will go down because the amount of the nodes of validators in case of Solana and the movement from Ethereum to Ethereum 2.0 will bring that really down. I was checking.
It would be cost effective for small producers.
Yes,
also.
yes, definitely. Because they want to, if they are small producers, they have manual devices, so they're not digitalized. They will read it once, for example, a week or twice a week, whatever, where they have these reading logs, and they will type it through the web, which will be basically the free, it's because it's what they use, but they will pay once they click save. From their wallet will be taken, or however it will be done, these 2 millicents. So it's not, we are not talking about something that is too complicated, and you don't want to make it complicated. That's one of the biggest issues with the software development, and I have my fair share of the failures. You have to do simple things, and then if those simple things are working, then you add new functionality. You don't want to have hundreds of functionality that is expensive and it's hard to use. You want to have one functionality working, then another, and then another.
What about the time of implementation in the business, in the process of production that they need?
So if you're talking about small producers, they turn on the computer, they download wallet or whatever. And one more thing that I maybe didn't mention in the technology part, and then I'll come back to your question. We envisioned logging for multiple blockchains. So we are not stuck, and that's the idea. You're not stuck to one blockchain because it doesn't matter where you write it. That's the basic. You just need to read it. So I can write on Solana and I can write on Ethereum. When I read QR code, I will read it from the chain where it was written. I don't care where it was written. And in the future, the idea is that you can even see the fees at that point of time, and you can log into the cheaper fees. To come back to the implementation, if you are small producer that don't have software in place, you will just create your wallet and start to type in, and that's it, up and running. The point is you have to label it somehow. So if you can come to the X, the big egg on the slide. The point is you have to label with the QR code. So if you have to package it. If you are packaging like package X, you're usually going to dozen X, you will have a stamp on the package. So you need QR code which is fixed. It will point out, for example, to this lot number. And then information will be added from producer, supply chain, when you read it. So at some point in time, you have to type with a laser, inkjet, or some specialized equipment if it's a big factory on the packaging in most cases, or the actual egg if it's too advanced and I wanted to show something too advanced. But basically, just a simple packages, you need this QR code, which will basically say your lot number, this HQ88SA95, and that's it. So I would say that we are trying to make implementation as simple as possible. And they will be able to print it. So when we're talking about small producers that are using the web, they will be able to print it to have a printable QR codes for that lot that they are basically packaging at that point of time. The easiest way, you print it on the laser with labels and just stick it if you don't have anything else. If you are more advanced, then you have a specialized machines for that. You have today inkjet printers. This is basically inkjet printer sample of the equipment where you have already packaged text open and just go through the line and put on the QR code. But okay, this is advanced version. We are talking about smaller producers. They don't need any of this. They already have printer, and they already probably have computer printer.
How all the data will be erased? You can, for instance, load from before 3 years.
No, there's no erasure. That's the point. You cannot erase anything.
Continuation.
No, you cannot delete data. That's the biggest point of the blockchain. The blockchains, and so if you're talking about, let's take about Solana, they are big and they're going to get bigger. And in the future, you won't be able to have on each node all the information. So for example, when you're talking about Ethereum is planning when they move to the Ethereum 2.0 to have 64 shards, which means in a way separate blockchains. So information will be separated in a way, so you will probably have specialized nodes. But the point of the blockchain, you have all the data. And it's a very simple data because I don't want to write lots of data. In our case, I don't want to write lots of data because I'm paying. The more data, the more expensive. So what I have, for example, for X will be number 1. That's my identification. Only identification about product is 1 will be written to smart contract. The temperature will be 27/, humidity 10, over 37, slash water 3 gallons free. So they're growing, but not in that pace because you are trying to minimize the data that you write.
So if you buy my company, you will inherit all my problems from top.
That's all production.
Yeah.
Because if you're a consumer, you have your QR code. You cannot find unless you have your old product. So how you will go to find that old product? You don't know it. You don't know the code. If you don't know the code, you don't know what it is. You can read the code and you don't know what it is. So this is the blockchain, and you don't need. What's the point? Maybe to your answer, you don't need servers for this. There is already you're paying with your transaction fee all this network. Everybody is paying. If I'm buying it Ether or I'm buying Sol or whatever, I'm paying with the transaction. That's how the validators have incentive to run those nodes. So everyone has their own incentive to run it, and that's, I would say, is the beauty of it.
I'm interested, what is the situation in the world market? Do we have some companies who are offering their own application software based on blockchain technology? And do you have some examples how this market is developed? How much these softwares we have? I suppose that in some Western countries, maybe Netherlands, maybe Israel, where food production is quite high. We have more companies who are doing this. And what is about competition in the market between these companies?
So as far as we know, there could be always something that we didn't catch up, but we did lots of research in this area. You have, if you're talking about Europe, you have, I would say, 10 companies that are working on this similar, in agri-food technology using blockchain. So not a similar, in agri-food technology using blockchain. All of them that we saw so far are focused on two things. One is supply chain itself. So there is one big German company that is focused on supply chain. So for the supply chain companies, that when you pick it, drop it, pick it, drop it, that you have all the data. And the second is on invoicing, interestingly. So we didn't find, even we were looking on all of the world, but we were mainly focused on the Europe. We didn't find those that are focused on quality. So we saw focus on supply chain to write data and focus on the invoicing. And the second point is many of them are using private blockchains. Private in a way that the company is big enough, they choose one blockchain technology and they deploy it themselves inside their company. For example, imagine some worldwide logistic giant and they deploy 1,000 nodes. They can do it. They already have thousands of servers anyway. But it's a private, so it's only for their own use. The use of the tracing quality on the public quality in general, we didn't see. We saw what I saw, but we didn't see. Maybe there is, maybe someone is starting like we are. And the biggest point is that we've been one of this open call. That's the point. If there was anyone, the Smart Agri Hub is the project of the European Union focused on this, or some other projects. Probably there will be more initiatives. Probably they would say, no, that's already existing. So even those evaluators of this project probably didn't know about anything similar. So we are highly probable that we are in the quality area, let's say pioneers, and we are quite confident that in our countries, and we are talking about Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Romania, and Israel, there's no such thing. And I would say that in all of the Europe, we didn't see. We saw some, but we don't have enough information about other continents. But I would say, as far as we know now, no one is focused on the quality and giving information to customers.
We have a lot of importers to Croatia and in every other country. Who will translate those data in Croatian language, for instance? When consumer scan the code. My mother doesn't know English.
So what we are writing in the blockchain is numbers. So we are writing to the blockchain only numbers, whatever number means. And then for each of the countries, you can have local or national organization that will interpret that in their own language. And that's the beauty, because this QR code is leading to the website. So we will have representative websites to show information, and everyone will be able. So you could even have competition. We will publish the codes. We will publish what each code means. So number one is egg. For egg, you have 3 parameters. Validation is this, because we have to publish it anyway to write it for people to use it for writing. And anyone will be able to pick up and write the website. And that's the point. Maybe website with more information. Maybe this is the quality information, and they will add their own information, reviews. I don't know. But everybody will be able to pick it up, because otherwise you cannot scale it. You cannot be, let's say, in a way too greedy. We are going to do everything. What we are going to do decentralized smart contracts that everybody can use, and then they can build the website upon it. So for Croatia, you can have, I don't know, retail chains. You can have HS1 who is producing barcodes, so you can have anyone else who wants to build a website and basically read that data. That's the point. So we will have local, yep.
I see here a little problem with scalability.
Okay.
For example, you are giving information about quality. Somebody else will give information about something else. So we will have act like an Eastern egg with a lot of QR codes. So is it possible to start a project as a point of growing for others to join you? For example, when I scan QR code, I will go to some place where I will see just quality information, but after a while, when somebody else joins you, you can see other information when he scans the same code.
Yes, we have the same exact situation with the producer that we visited yesterday. They have a project in place that will put QR codes, but with the fixed information about producers. And I said, yes, great. So this would be a great example to add on this data on that website that they are building. So if you want to have your, because what is the point? You can choose whether to trust someone else to represent your data, or you can choose yourself, doesn't matter. But they have already projects that they will label with barcodes. And I said, great. The only problem with that is that you have a fixed barcode per product. You have to change it that you have also have a lot number. I'm talking about simplest way. That's it. You have only one barcode. That was the same question that I got yesterday. You don't need 2 barcodes because they will confuse everyone. So if you are building and you already have something that you have information, and most of them are fixed. Most of them nowadays are fixed, or they are leading to the website with the variable information about the product. That's the second point. But if you have that, great. Then you will run your own website if you're a big producer with information, or you will have some review. You have in France, Yuka, I think it's called the application. There I have lots of products. You just scan it, and they give you a barcode and they give you information about this product. So it's a great add-on for them. They already have, I think they have 1 million or 10 million, I'm not sure, downloads. So they already have a customer base. This will be add-on for them to sell to their audience who are paying, let's say, premium membership for that. And that's the point. That's the only way how you can scale the things. You cannot scale building one website for all, especially if you're talking about decentralization. Okay, if you have any other question in the meantime, just come to me afterwards, doesn't matter. But thank you for you were a great audience, and thank you for this opportunity to present technology. And I hope we will have a closing conference in Bucharest somewhere in September, end of the September, where you will be able to join online or come to the Bucharest. It will be my first time as well. And to see basically what we have done. It's very short time from now. We are talking about 2 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez, for this very informative and interesting presentation. So we have come to the end of this conference. I'd like to thank all the speakers as well as the participants for joining us. I hope it was informative and interesting to you as well. And the lunch is served, so please help yourselves outside. After lunch, the partners will meet again here for an internal meeting. And please, some of you promised to give statements to the press, so if you haven't already, please go do that. Thank you.